Hi, my name is Henry Scholes, and the short story I did was Lather and Nothing Else by Hernando Tellez. First, for summary. The story is told from the perspective of a barber who is a member of the local civil rebellion. His otherwise average day is changed when he recognizes Captain Torres in his shop, a leader in the oppressive regime that seems to be in power. Torres sits down in the chair while the barber mixes the lather solution, as if this is a normal customer, hiding how nervous he is about Torres's unexpected appearance. As the barber starts the shave, Torres begins talking about his squad and the recent and planned killings of the rebel forces. The barber feels uneasy about this, as he is a rebel himself, and with a sharp razor in his hand, he is in a good position to end Torres's life. He is unsure what he should do because he is torn between being a good barber and what his fellow rebels would do given this opportunity. The barber ultimately finishes the shave without resorting to violence. When he is finished, Torres leaves the chair, pays him, and on his way out casually implies that he knew the barber was a rebel the whole time, saying that his squadmates warned him that he might be murdered if he went to the shop. About Hernando Tellez, the author. So Tellez was born in Bogota, Colombia in 1908 and lived until 1966. Throughout his life, Tellez was an author, a journalist, and he served in the Colombian parliament. During his life in Colombia, the country suffered through civil wars and military dictatorships, which provides context to him writing about rebels against the military in his story. For setting, the story takes place in a barber shop at some point during the workday, which is implied by Captain Torres complaining about the hot sun. They seem to be in a Latin country, presumably Colombia, based on the author's origin. Characters. In the story, there are only two main characters, the barber and Captain Torres. The barber is part of a rebellious group that Torres and his firing squad have been trying to eliminate. The barber takes his job very seriously and is proud of what he does, but while shaving the captain, he gets conflicted with his personal desires. He is confident that his identity as a rebel is secret until Torres reveals he knew all along. Captain Torres is oddly confident and proud of his ability to kill the rebels. Torres casually mentions commanding a firing squad that recently killed 14 rebels and rebel leaders. So for the plot, there's very little action from the story, and most of the information we get comes from the barber's thoughts as he shaves his enemy. For theme, there are a few different themes explored throughout the short story, one of which is good versus evil. The barber and Torres have a great unspoken conflict between each other, where they see one another as an enemy. We see the line of good versus evil from the barber's point of view, where he is debating whether to end Torres's life. With an opportunity to kill him, he thinks about if that would make him a murderer or a hero. The conflict between the two isn't necessarily personal, but more because of the respected groups they are in. Even with the fact that these two people are great enemies, I notice mutual respect between them. When Torres enters the barber shop, he knows who's going to be handling the sharp tools around him, and yet respectfully hangs up his jacket and belt holding his gun, and casually sits down as if he trusts him. The barber ultimately doesn't betray that trust and gives him an excellent shave in spite of his personal beliefs. So in the story, the barber is the narrator, and for imagery and symbolism, the author uses imagery when describing the blade and the lather. Torres walks in the barber shop complaining that it's as hot as the devil outside, and this sensory imagery is compared with when the barber lays down the cool caress of the lather on Torres' face. Torres is very detailed when he talks about him killing the rebels, which we later find out could be an attempt to antagonize the barber. The author also vividly describes the whole process of the shave and pays special attention to the blade specifically. One little error with the blade could do great damage to Torres. I feel that the blade is a symbol of trust Torres has for the barber and represents the line between good and evil within the story, as the blade, depending on how it's used, could push the barber over that line. I feel like Torres revealing that he knew the barber was a rebel the whole time without telling us made the story. I feel like Torres wanted to show his dominance by risking his life going to get a shave from a known enemy. He showed his confidence and was in a way cocky by how he walked out of the barbershop, almost as if he had done something successful. Something that made me think was how Captain Torres had been told that the barber would kill him, but yet he walks in, hanging up his only weapon, and basically puts his life on the line, depending on what the barber will do. This didn't make sense to me in my first reading, because the barber could have easily killed him right there, and Torres knows this too, but for him to sit unarmed while his enemy is dangling an extremely sharp tool around his neck seemed absurd to me. After reading a couple more times, I believe Torres acting the way he did was a part of his plan to show that he didn't need his weapon, and that for the moment he was just there for a peaceful shave. So that sums up my summary, and I really enjoyed the story.